Welcome to the Hustling Podcast. Today, I'd like to welcome Ryan Buckley, co-founder and CEO of Shovels. Ryan, thanks for being here with me.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, let's jump right in. So I did a little bit of research, but I don't know too much about Shovels. What is Shovels AI?
Yeah, so we're offering a go-to-market solution for anyone selling into the homeowner or building contractor market. We offer really detailed lead gen lists, all based off of building permits. So with a building permit, you know when somebody is interested in building something related to their house. Could be a new roof, windows, doors, EV chargers, solar panels, heat pump, water heaters. You know, of course, where they live. And then you have sometimes some information about their names, but you at least have their address. And then we can also provide their whole building permit history, so you know how sophisticated they are, and that can also be kind of a proxy for their intent and how much money they have to spend.
That is so cool. So if I'm understanding and listening correctly, you guys are kind of like the Google for contractors, where contractors can go out and find if a customer is going to be a good fit for them and vice versa.
Yeah, it's kind of like maybe Zoom Info too, for where that's like the B2B buyer database. We're more like the if you could build a perfect solution to find homeowners just when they're at the point of purchase, and you know what they're interested in and when they're going to do it. That's kind of what this data is used for.
Yeah, that's awesome. And in that way, it's like AdWords, where the intent is super high of that the
Right.
person you're reaching. So cool, because I just recently wrapped up an EV project, and I like DIY solar, and I it's really neat to be able to really understand, the home buyer you might be working with and what they've already done, and like you said, what their ability is based on other permits. It's so cool, and there's
Yep.
so much you guys can build out to in that space. So that's a great segue for talking about what unique challenges and potential projects do you guys have going on at Shovels that you can share with us?
Yeah. So building permit data, it's notoriously messy. So this is usually input by an administrator at a city or county office in their planning department, and they're taking emails or PDFs, and then they're manually entering it into some sort of an e-permitting system. There's a new market now for GovTech, to allow the government and the citizens to interact online with this building permit data, sending updates, even submitting building permits. Um, but a lot of it is still just PDF transfer. So anyway, there's a lot of typos. And addresses are just a ridiculously complex, convoluted data type, and it's completely unstandardized. We see ranges in numbers, 200 to 250 Main Street instead of just 225 Main Street or something like that. Zip codes are missing, cities are missing, street abbreviations, suffix abbreviations, or spelled out suffixes. And then there's even prefixes like the North Main Street or Northwest, whatever, Maple. Um, that's a really hard problem. We also end up producing a contractor object off of
Hmm.
the building permits. So we get the contractor's name, sometimes their address, sometimes their license, and we essentially cluster this data together and try to deduplicate it. Um, it's also a really big challenge, but an important step in what we're producing. So in terms of the challenges, just in general, it is a data wrangling, data cleansing, big challenge there. Um, we try to classify permits, so deciding that this is an EV charging permit or a roof permit or a pool spa permit or like a window door permit. It's a lot more nuanced than you might think, because permit descriptions are their own kind of language. A
Hmm.
lot of abbreviations, just it's uh, it's unique, and so just normal LLMs trained on like Reddit posts or whatever they're trained on, Amazon reviews, are not going to like really understand the permit language. Um, so we are also really interested in trying to use AI and train it in this language, this like permit description language. Um, that's a big project. We're also very curious about expanding beyond building permits to planning permits, which are like upstream of a building permit, especially when you're talking about a big commercial project like an apartment building or a new Home Depot.
Uh,
um, we have customers that are saying, yeah, by the time they actually file the building permit, that's too late. And we want to know when it's in like the planning phase and going through all of the politics and like, you know, how many union jobs are you going to have, and um, environmental reviews and, you know, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot that we're working on, and we're still just three people. So yeah, if anyone in the community is curious about how to make building permits more usable and auxiliary data sets that we can tack on to building permits, we'd definitely be curious to chat.
cool. So if I'm a engineer or if I'm a data scientist and I'm listening to this podcast, really passionate about the space, I might be a good fit to reach out and connect.
Yeah, and I'd say particularly climate tech folks, if you've been curious about how to get into climate tech, building electrification is a huge lever. Some 30% of greenhouse gas emissions come from the materials used to build the buildings, and then also
Wow.
heating and cooling the air inside of buildings. So like HVAC systems primarily, but also heating and cooling water. Um, that's a big lever, and we kind of follow the whole Peter Drucker you can't manage what you don't measure adage. We are measuring the progress. Like we see all of the building electrification activity and which contractors are doing it well. There's a lot of applications for this data. As far as I can tell, we're the only ones who are really thinking about it this way. So if climate is of interest, we're an interesting way to explore that.
Yeah, it's super cool. You said you took the words right out of my mouth, which is there are so many ways to apply this data and do way more than just permitting and contractor connections. There's so many interesting use cases, but I think this is an awesome starting point. Um, so from there, I mean, then that's a really awesome plug for our community. We have a lot of folks that are listening or tuning in or watching that are, they're side gig workers, and they certainly fit, the software engineering scientist, data scientist background. So I think people listening, I encourage you to reach out. We'll facilitate that process. But then from there, Ryan, talk to us about, this is a very niche space. How did you get into this? Why this?
Yeah, I'll make this answer as short as I can. So I come from the B2B data and sales and marketing space. Last 10 years or so, I've been an entrepreneur. I've worked in B2B sales and marketing and B2B data. I studied environmental stuff in college and in grad school, and always thought I would get into sustainability, environmental policy in some way. When I wrapped up my last business, I decided I was gonna work my way into it. Like it was finally time. I meant to do it all along, just got distracted, and so now I got to get into it. But I couldn't throw away my career up to this point. I didn't want to sort of start all over. So I decided I was going to find the intersection of B2B data, like messy B2B data, and climate, actually. And a few things collided at once to show me that building permits checked off all of the boxes that I was looking for in like the thing that I wanted to explore and do and build a company around for the next 5 or 10 years. Um, but that is why I'm doing building permits. It's because it fits my skill set and interest, and it is at least tangentially related to climate and climate tech, even though we can do everything else that buildings are involved with, including, you know, roofs and pools and like all of that. But EV chargers, wall batteries, heat pump HVAC, solar panels, like that's all part of the picture as well. So that's what kind of got me here and got me motivated enough to get out and raise money for Shovels.
It's really cool, and I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but building permits and zoning is so boring. It really takes somebody with your passion and your
Yeah.
skill set to help, really make it valuable for both sides, right? Because home buyers, project planners, commercial developers, we want to be connected with the best contractors or contractors that have high motivation. I think for me on housing
Yep.
projects I've been on, it's like half the battle is just getting these people to call you back or show up or actually give you the quote after they came and drove to see your project. So
Yep.
it's really cool what you guys are doing, and it's awesome. And I'm sure people listening are excited about it too. Where can people find and connect with you? Where can people find and connect with Shovels and learn more?
Yeah, so we are at www.shovels.ai. So SHOVELS.ai. I personally am on the internet most places as Rbucks, except on LinkedIn, I'm R Buckley. But Twitter Rbucks, Facebook Rbucks, Rbucks at Gmail, but R Buckley on LinkedIn. Pretty easy to find. Ryan at shovels.ai is my email address. I'm an open book. I love email. I respond to people really quickly, and yeah, I would love to connect with anyone interested in this work.
Awesome. Ryan, thank you so much for being here today and kind of sharing your story with us.
Thanks for having me.